On October 11, 2025, in a move that stunned both nations, Canada sealed the Alaska Route, the only major land bridge connecting the continental United States to Alaska, cutting off the vital artery that had linked communities for generations. Overnight, concrete barriers appeared at border crossings, abruptly turning away all American traffic, families, truckers, and tourists alike. The closure shattered decades of peaceful relations, transforming a once-open border into a stark, physical blockade that few could have imagined. News helicopters circled overhead, capturing miles of stranded trucks and RVs, their drivers left with nowhere to go and no answers. In Ottawa, the government's silence was deafening, fueling panic, wild speculation, and a sense of betrayal on both sides of the border. Was this a response to a looming security threat, or the escalation of a simmering trade dispute? The world watched, searching for clues. In Washington, D.C., lawmakers scrambled for answers, holding emergency meetings and demanding explanations from their Canadian counterparts. As uncertainty grew, the focus shifted to Mar-a-Lago, where the nation awaited former President Trump's reaction with bated breath. The closure quickly became a logistical nightmare, disrupting supply chains, stranding travelers, and presenting a direct challenge to American resolve. Everyone knew Trump would not let this go unanswered. His determination was legendary, and the world braced for his response. For ordinary people caught in the middle, the geopolitical earthquake was personal, families separated, livelihoods threatened, and uncertainty everywhere. The State Department urgently sought answers from Canada, but official channels yielded little clarity, only deepening the crisis. The closure was a bombshell, dominating headlines and leaving America in a state of suspense and growing anxiety. The once busy road to Alaska now stood eerily empty as the nation collectively held its breath, waiting for what would come next. The challenge was unmistakable, and the world sensed that a dramatic response was not just possible, but inevitable. Across America, anticipation built. All eyes were on Trump as the country waited for his next move in this unprecedented standoff. The Alaska route is more than a road, it's a lifeline. The Alaska Highway, or ALCAN, stretches over 1,300 miles, connecting the contiguous U.S. to Alaska. It's essential for nearly 730,000 Alaskans, supplying groceries, materials, and goods. Without it, the supply chain breaks, and costs skyrocket. It's not just commerce, it's connection. Military families, tourists, and students rely on it. Closing it isolates Alaska, cutting off a vital link. This closure shatters a trust-based relationship, highlighting vulnerability. The balance of mutual benefit is disrupted, raising questions of sovereignty. The closure is a stark reminder of our dependence on this fragile lifeline. Chaos reigned at the border crossings. What was once a routine checkpoint had become a scene of confusion and mounting frustration as thousands of travelers found themselves suddenly halted, unsure of what would happen next. Truckers like Dave, hauling produce to Anchorage, faced spoilage and missed deliveries. For them, every hour stuck at the border meant lost income and wasted goods, as fresh fruits and vegetables sat in trailers, slowly going bad. A military family, en route to Fairbanks, found their future uncertain. Orders and plans were put on hold, and the children, sensing their parents' anxiety, grew restless in the back seat. Senior citizens on RV trips saw dreams dashed. Many had saved for years to explore the open road, only to be stranded far from home, their adventures cut short by forces beyond their control. Confusion and limited information fueled fear and anger. People scrolled through their phones, desperate for updates, but official channels offered little clarity, leaving rumors to fill the void. Hotels filled up, and gas stations were overwhelmed. With nowhere to go, travelers scrambled for a place to sleep or a tank of gas, as supplies dwindled and tempers flared. Local communities faced a sudden influx of stranded travelers. Towns that were usually quiet found their streets packed, and community centers quickly became makeshift shelters for those with nowhere else to turn. The closure wasn't just a line on a map, it was a dam bursting. Traffic backed up for miles, and the sense of helplessness grew as the hours dragged on, with no end in sight. The crisis was real, affecting lives in real time. News crews arrived to capture the unfolding drama, but for those stuck at the border, the cameras offered little comfort. The lack of explanation from Canada created a vacuum. Officials refused to comment, and the silence only deepened the sense of abandonment and uncertainty. The ripple effects spread quickly, impacting small towns. Local businesses struggled to keep up with demand, and residents worried about how long the crisis would last. The closure was a tangible problem, not just a headline. Barriers and locked gates made the crisis impossible to ignore, as the reality of the situation set in for everyone involved. The human cost was immediate and deeply personal. Families comforted each other, seniors worried about their health, and everyone wondered when or if they would be able to move forward again. At exactly 3 p.m., in a moment broadcast live across the country, Trump stepped up to the podium at Mar-a-Lago. The room was tense, anticipation thick in the air as cameras flashed and reporters leaned in. He wasted no time, calling Canada's sudden action a hostile blockade, framing it as an unprecedented move that threatened American interests and sovereignty. Declaring the situation a direct threat to national security, he unveiled a bold new initiative, Operation Northern Link, a plan that would reshape the northern border. Central to this plan was the Freedom Corridor, a proposed highway that would connect Alaska to the rest of the continental U.S., bypassing the blockade and ensuring unbroken access. Trump issued a stark ultimatum, giving Canada just 48 hours to reopen the route, warning that failure to comply would trigger immediate consequences. He didn't mince words, warning of severe economic repercussions, including the possibility of new tariffs and trade restrictions that could impact both nations. His words projected unwavering strength, energizing his supporters who cheered his decisive stance and saw it as a defense of American pride. Yet critics immediately labeled the move as impulsive and fraught with risk, questioning the wisdom of escalating tensions with a close ally. Online, the phrase "Freedom Corridor" exploded in popularity, trending across social media platforms and sparking heated debates nationwide. Trump skillfully seized control of the media narrative, ensuring that his response dominated headlines and placed him firmly at the center of the unfolding drama. His bold promise electrified his base, fueling rallies and drawing crowds eager to show their support for his uncompromising approach. Meanwhile, political analysts voiced deep concern, warning that such aggressive tactics could inflict lasting damage on the historically strong U.S.-Canada relationship. The announcement was nothing short of audacious, a massive infrastructure promise that would require unprecedented resources and cooperation. Trump's response was swift, bold, and impossible to ignore, instantly capturing the attention of the nation and dominating the news cycle. Across the country, Americans watched with bated breath, divided in their opinions, yet united in anticipation of what would come next. Trump's speech ignited patriotic fervor in America. The Freedom Corridor resonated deeply, symbolizing independence. Some Americans, however, feared escalating tensions. In Canada, Trump's ultimatum was seen as bullying. The hashtag #Don'tTread on the maple leaf trended. Canadians felt caught in the middle, worried about economic impact. Communities along the Alaska Highway faced revenue loss. The conflict was between politicians, not people. Truck drivers, tourists, and business owners bore the brunt. The closure hurt both sides, creating a crisis within a crisis. The situation highlighted the fragility of U.S.-Canada relations. The people paid the price for this geopolitical chess match. The blockade's economic impact was immediate and severe. Trucking and logistics faced shutdowns, leaving goods in limbo. Shipping costs to Alaska tripled, directly affecting consumers. Panic buying hit Alaska's retail sector, with many fearing empty shelves. Canadian towns along the highway lost crucial revenue streams. The blockade inflicted economic self-harm on Canada itself. Trump's tariff threat loomed over U.S.-Canada trade relations. Business leaders feared a trade war, watching with growing dread. The blockade threatened to ignite a full-blown trade conflict. The economic consequences rippled outward, affecting both nations deeply. The situation was a crisis within a crisis, with far-reaching effects. As night falls, North America faces an unprecedented standoff. The border remains closed, the deadline ticking. Diplomatic channels buzz, but public rhetoric hardens. Trump's Freedom Corridor promise raises expectations. Canada can't afford to cave to an ultimatum. The path to resolution is narrow and fraught with peril. If diplomacy fails, escalation looms. Trump's deadline pressures him to act. The situation grows more complex by the hour. The crisis exposes vulnerabilities in U.S.-Canada relations. The closure is a symbol of a new, uncertain era. The road to Alaska is closed, but the future of two nations hangs in the balance.